All right, so get this. You're in New Jersey, it's nighttime, and you look up. And you don't see stars. You see a whole swarm of drones. We're not talking like your neighbor's little toy. These things are big. Some reports say up to 6 feet across.
Wow.
That's what people have been dealing with since mid-November. Sightings going from a few a night to sometimes almost 200. We've got research and recent articles. So let's do a deep dive into this, shall we?
Absolutely. What's interesting here, it's not just the number of drones. It's really how they're behaving. It's not what you'd expect.
Yeah. It's not like they're just buzzing around randomly. What are they doing that's so strange?
Think like carefully choreographed movements, formations almost. There are even reports of them seemingly evading radar. Some witnesses say they saw lights flickering on and off, and they seem to be steering clear of restricted airspace.
That makes you wonder, doesn't it? If it were just one or two drones, maybe you'd think it was someone messing around. But with this many, and that kind of deliberate behavior, it's not your typical drone hobbyist, that's for sure.
Right. And that raises a big question. What level of technology are we even talking about here? Some of the maneuvers described would require pretty sophisticated systems. It makes you think about the intent behind these flights. And who might have the capability to pull this off?
So where exactly are these drones showing up? Give us the rundown on the locations.
Well, that's part of what's making this even more unsettling. It's not like they're just out in the middle of nowhere. We're seeing reports over critical infrastructure, things like reservoirs, rail stations, and get this, even military bases. There have been multiple sightings around Picatinny Arsenal in Morris County.
Not exactly the kind of place you want mysterious drones hanging around. Wait, there's more, isn't there? I remember reading about some other, shall we say, high-profile locations.
You're right. There have also been sightings around President-elect Donald Trump's golf course in Bedminster. And then you have these clusters of drones that have been spotted over Barnegat Bay and along the Raritan River. It's a pretty diverse set of locations.
Which makes it even harder to figure out what's going on, right? If they were all focused on one type of place, maybe you could guess the motive a bit easier. But this mix, it's like they're trying to be extra mysterious.
The locations definitely add another layer to this puzzle. They could be chosen randomly, but the fact that some are quite sensitive does make you wonder if there's a specific target or purpose behind it. It's certainly fueling a lot of speculation.
So while officials try to figure out what they're dealing with, how are people reacting to this?
Uh-huh.
I mean, seeing all these unexplained drones overhead can't be easy.
Just think about it. You're going about your day, and then suddenly there are these things in the sky. Nobody knows who they belong to or what they're doing. It's understandable that people are anxious, even a little scared.
Yeah, the unknown can be pretty unnerving. It's not every day you see something like that. It's natural to wonder what it means, especially with all the speculation flying around online. People are sharing videos, pictures, theories. It's got everyone talking.
It has. And while that public discussion is happening, the authorities are also trying to get a handle on things. The FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the FAA are all actively investigating these incidents. But so far, there haven't been any concrete answers. They haven't identified who's operating these drones or what their motives might be.
So they're working on it, but it's still a big mystery. What are they actually doing about it, though? I mean, beyond investigating, are there any plans to, actually try to stop these drones?
There have been some proposed actions, both at the state and federal level. New Jersey State Senator John Bramnick has actually called for a limited state of emergency to ban all drone flights temporarily until they can figure out what's happening.
I guess that makes sense if they don't know who's flying them. Better to be safe than sorry, right? At least until they have more information.
Exactly. And then you have Monmouth County Sheriff Sean Golden. He's suggested restricting recreational drone flights during the night, since that's when most of these sightings are occurring. It's about trying to narrow down the possibilities.
Okay, so that's at the state level. What about on the federal side? Are there any plans in motion there?
There are. U.S. Senator Cory Booker has been advocating for more funding to help local law enforcement agencies improve their drone tracking capabilities. Specifically, he's talking about better radar systems.
So basically giving them better tools to see what's going on up there, even when these drones might be trying to stay hidden. That's interesting.
It is. And here's something that shows you just how seriously this is being taken. House Speaker Mike Johnson is actually scheduled for a classified briefing on the situation.
Wow, a classified briefing. That definitely means they're not taking this lightly.
Not at all. It suggests this has gone beyond just a local curiosity. It's something they're viewing as a potential threat that needs to be addressed at a higher level.
So we've got officials scrambling, investigations underway, and a whole lot of concerned citizens. But the big question still hangs in the air. Who is behind these drones? What are they doing? And why? Let's get into some of the theories that have been floating around.
The rumor mill is definitely working overtime on this one.
Oh, I bet. Let's hear it. What are some of the ideas people have come up with?
You've got everything from military testing to foreign surveillance operations being thrown around.
I can only imagine what the alien enthusiasts are saying about all this.
Oh, they're definitely having a field day with this one. But we need to be careful about jumping to conclusions. The Department of Homeland Security has specifically stated that there's no evidence linking these drones to national security threats or any foreign involvement at this point.
So maybe hold off on the alien invasion theories for now.
Mm-hmm.
But even if it's not extraterrestrials or spies, it still doesn't explain everything, right?
Right. Some sightings could be misidentified manned aircraft, like planes or helicopters, that people are mistaking for drones. But that doesn't explain all the reports, especially those describing the really intricate movements and evasion tactics. There's still a lot we don't know.
A real-life mystery playing out right above our heads. And you know what? This isn't just something we're passively observing. You, our listeners, can actually help figure this out.
That's right. If you see one of these drones, you can report it. It might make a difference.
Absolutely. If you happen to get a photo or a video, you can submit that online. Or you can call the FBI hotline at 1-800-DIC-RFBI. That's 1-800-225-5324. Every detail could be a piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Even something that seems small or insignificant to you might be the missing link that helps investigators understand what's really going on.
This is a story that's still unfolding, folks, and we're going to keep digging. So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore some of the possible implications of these drone activities, the security risks, the privacy concerns, and what this might mean for the future of drone technology. It's a conversation we all need to be a part of.
Welcome back. Before we dive into the theories, it's worth thinking about why people are so on edge about this.
Yeah, it's easy to dismiss it as just drones. But when you consider where some of these drones have been spotted, it gets a little more unsettling, right?
Exactly. We're not just talking about empty fields here. Power plants, water treatment facilities, transportation hubs. These are places that are essential to our daily lives. If those systems were disrupted, the impact would be huge.
It makes you wonder, what are the real-world risks here? If these drones were in the wrong hands, what kind of damage could they actually do?
That's a crucial question, and it gets to the heart of why this is such a big deal. Drones aren't just toys anymore. They're capable of carrying significant payloads, cameras for surveillance, of course, but also potentially things like jamming equipment or even harmful substances.
That's a chilling thought. We're already dealing with cybersecurity threats. Now we have to worry about physical attacks from the air.
It's a whole new dimension to security, and it ties into a bigger issue that we're grappling with as a society. Technology is evolving incredibly fast, and sometimes our laws and security measures struggle to keep up.
That makes sense. I mean, drones were practically science fiction not that long ago, but now they're everywhere, and it seems like they're getting more sophisticated all the time.
Precisely. And that raises another important point. How do you even tell the difference between someone harmlessly flying a drone for fun and someone with more sinister intentions?
That's a good point. It's like, at what point does a hobbyist drone turn into something more serious? The technology itself doesn't tell you the intent of the person using it?
You've hit the nail on the head. And that's why this whole situation in New Jersey is highlighting a real need for clear regulations and effective ways to enforce them.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What kind of rules are already in place for drones? Surely there are some laws about where you can and can't fly them, right?
There are, but they're still evolving, trying to catch up with the technology itself. The FAA, for example, has set rules for both recreational and commercial drone use. You have to register your drone if it's over a certain weight. There are limits on how high you can fly, and there are restrictions on flying near airports and other sensitive areas.
But clearly those rules aren't enough to stop these mystery drones, right?
That's the problem. Enforcement is tricky, especially when you're dealing with a large number of drones, or drones that might be deliberately trying to stay hidden.
So what can be done about it? What are some of the things people are thinking about? To try and address this whole drone dilemma, is there even a solution?
It's not a simple fix, but there are definitely different approaches being explored. One is to focus on the technology itself. Better ways to detect and track drones, even if they're trying to be stealthy.
Like what, super radar or something? Or can you even hear drones coming?
Well, more advanced radar systems are certainly part of it, but you're also looking at things like optical sensors. which could pick up drones visually even in low light conditions. And there's even research into acoustic detection, using sound to identify and locate drones.
Okay, so better ways to see them, even if they're trying to hide.
Yeah.
What about stopping them? Is that even possible?
That's where things get really interesting. There's a whole field of what are called counter-drone technologies emerging.
Okay, give me the rundown on this. We're talking about like nets that capture drones or lasers that shoot them down.
It might not be quite as dramatic as lasers, but you're on the right track. These counter-drone systems use various methods to disrupt drones. Some can jam their communication signals, essentially cutting off their connection to the operator. Others can actually take control of the drone remotely and force it to land safely.
Wow, that's pretty high-tech stuff. It sounds almost like something out of a spy movie.
It does, but the reality is, this technology is becoming increasingly important, especially when you're thinking about protecting critical infrastructure and ensuring public safety. It's not just a theoretical problem anymore.
You're right. It's like we're used to thinking about physical security, locks, fences, guards. But now we have to think about a whole other dimension, security from above.
Precisely. And it's not something any one country can solve on its own. You're dealing with something that can cross borders easily. So another big part of the solution is international cooperation.
Makes sense. Drones don't care about national boundaries.
Exactly. We need countries working together to establish common standards for drone use, sharing intelligence about potential threats, and coordinating responses to incidents like the one we're seeing in New Jersey. It's a global challenge that requires a global approach.
Okay, so we've covered the challenges, the potential risks, and some of the ways people are thinking about tackling this. But let's get back to the big mystery at the heart of it all. Who's behind these drones? And what is their goal? We've got to get into the theories, right?
Absolutely. That's the question everyone wants answered. And while the authorities are keeping their cards close to their chest, there's no shortage of speculation. We can definitely dive into some of the more plausible explanations that have been circulating.
Hit me with them. What are the top contenders for whodunit in this drone mystery?
Well, one scenario that's being considered seriously is industrial espionage.
Espionage. You mean like companies spying on each other?
Exactly. Think about those drones flying over sensitive facilities, like power plants, refineries, maybe even research and development centers. They could be trying to gather intelligence on their competitors, stealing trade secrets, that sort of thing.
Okay, that's a little shady. But I can see how it would be tempting in today's competitive business world. What else? Surely there are other possible explanations.
Another possibility that's been raised is organized crime.
Wait, the mafia using drones? That sounds a little far-fetched, doesn't
That
it?
might seem that way at first, but think about it. Drones offer a way to conduct surveillance, smuggle goods, even intimidate rivals, all with relatively low risk and high reward.
Huh, you got a point there. Drones as a tool for the mob. That's a pretty disturbing thought. Is there anything else on the list of potential culprits?
There's one more scenario that can't be ignored, even though it's a bit more sensitive. State-sponsored actors.
You mean like foreign governments?
Potentially. While the Department of Homeland Security has downplayed this possibility, it can't be ruled out completely. Drones could be used for covert surveillance, mapping out critical infrastructure, even testing security responses.
Okay, that's where things start to feel a little too close to home, right? If we're talking about potential foreign involvement, that raises the stakes considerably.
I know it's not a comfortable thought, but it's important to consider all the angles, even the ones that might be unsettling.
So we have corporate spies, mobsters, and maybe even foreign governments as possible suspects. It's like a real-life spy thriller playing out right above us.
Exactly. And the clock is ticking as investigators try to uncover the truth behind this mystery.
While we wait for those answers, it's a good reminder that we all have a role to play in this. Staying vigilant, reporting anything suspicious, it could actually help.
You're absolutely right. If you see something, say something. It might be the piece of information. That helps crack the case wide open.
We're not done yet, folks. There's more to this story. In Part 3, we'll explore some of the more unconventional theories that have cropped up around this drone mystery. And we'll talk about what this all might mean for the future of drone technology. Stay tuned, because this conversation is just getting started. Okay, so we've covered like a lot of ground in this deep dive. The facts, the official responses, even some pretty plausible theories, but we'd be remiss if we didn't at least touch on some of the more unconventional ideas that have been kind of swirling around this drone mystery.
You know, we can't resist a little bit of speculation, right? Especially when it comes to a case like this, where there's still so many unanswered questions.
Exactly. So let's indulge that curiosity for a bit.
Uh-huh.
What are some of the wilder theories that have popped up? What's the internet buzzing about?
Well, you can probably guess. The alien enthusiasts are having a field day with this one.
Oh, yeah. I figured as much. Extraterrestrial drones spying on New Jersey. That's a headline I'd click on for sure.
Right. There's been a surge in online chatter connecting these sightings to UFO activity. People are pointing to the unusual flight patterns, the reports of radar evasion, and the fact that nobody has come forward to claim responsibility. It's all very X-Files, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It definitely adds a certain mystique to the whole thing. But seriously, are there any actual experts who think these drones might be extraterrestrial?
Most mainstream scientists and government officials are pretty quick to dismiss the alien theory. They point to the lack of any concrete evidence and the fact that there are more down-to-earth explanations that fit the facts better.
Okay, so maybe aliens are a long shot. But what about other possibilities that are less outlandish, but still intriguing? Are there any theories that fall somewhere in between?
One that's gained some traction is the idea of a secret government project.
Ooh, now that's interesting. A clandestine military operation. Tell me more.
Think about the details we've discussed. The drones have been seen near military bases, they're clearly technologically advanced, and the government has been very tight-lipped about the investigation. Some people are wondering if we're witnessing a top-secret drone testing program, maybe a new form of surveillance technology, or even, dare I say it, weaponized drones.
It's definitely food for thought. It makes you wonder what's going on behind closed doors. But like you said earlier, we have to be careful about jumping to conclusions. There's no hard evidence to support this theory either.
Right, we have to separate speculation from facts, but that's part of what makes this whole situation so captivating, isn't it? It's a real-life mystery, unfolding right before our eyes.
It definitely taps into that human desire to understand the unknown. And when you throw in advanced technology and the possibility of something truly extraordinary, it's a recipe for endless fascination.
You nailed it. It's a reminder that even in our technologically advanced world, there are still mysteries to solve and questions that remain unanswered.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we're left with more questions than answers. Who's behind these drones? What are their motives? And what does this all mean for the future of drone technology and our own privacy and security?
These are questions that will likely continue to be debated and investigated for some time. But one thing is clear. This incident has shown a spotlight on the rapidly evolving world of drones and the challenges they present.
It's a wake-up call in a way. Drones are here to stay, and we need to be ready for the implications, both good and bad.
We have to acknowledge that this technology has the potential for incredible good, things like search and rescue operations, environmental monitoring, even delivering goods more efficiently. But we also have to be honest about the potential risks: surveillance, misuse, even the possibility of them being used for harmful purposes.
It's a complex issue for sure. So what can our listeners do? How can they stay informed and be a part of this conversation about drones?
That's a great question. First and foremost, stay curious. Keep learning about the latest developments in drone technology and the regulations that are being put in place. There are a lot of great resources available online and in the media.
And don't be afraid to voice your concerns and ask questions. Reach out to your elected officials. Participate in public forums. Engage in discussions about the responsible use of drones.
And of course, if you see something that seems suspicious, don't hesitate to report it to the authorities. Your observation could be a crucial piece of the puzzle in helping to understand what's happening and prevent future incidents.
This deep dive has been a fascinating journey, filled with mystery, intrigue, and a touch of that sci-fi element that always captures our imaginations. But it's also been a reminder that we're living in a time of rapid technological change, and it's up to all of us to engage with these changes thoughtfully, to ask the tough questions, and to work towards a future where technology serves humanity in a positive way.
Beautifully said. The future of drones is still being written, and we all have a role to play in shaping that future.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your eyes on the skies, stay curious, and keep exploring the world around you. Until next time.